Our goals were very clear. Deliver as much return on our investors' money as possible. We were making $30, $40, $50 million a year, but none of it was enough. And eventually, I was pushed out of the company I created. My name's Rand Fishkin. I'm an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker. I really fell in love with building things for the internet. This is 2001, right? So dot-com crash was kind of happening, but I thought the internet's gonna be huge. I love the World Wide Web. And I fell into the field of web design. So I was building websites for other people. I had started this blog on the side called SEO Moz. It was about how to get your website into Google and Yahoo and Bing. If you rank well in search engines, you can get a lot of customers and a lot of business. And here's how to do it. After a few years, it was a huge hit. This blog became a central place where professional marketers from all around the world learned how to do SEO. Clients started coming and wanting our SEO services. We were able to charge significant sums. Matt and I, the programmer that we employed, he had built some software, some like tools that would automate some of the processes that we needed. Classic me, I'm like, Matt, I don't want it to only be available to us. I want anyone to be able to use these tools. What if we charge people to access our tools? The SEO Moz software suite. 6 months into launching this, we were making more money with the software business than we were with the consultancy. And we sort of went, wait a minute, I think we're onto something here. Private investors in Seattle reached out and we ended up raising $1.1 million. We were off to the races. I remember going home to Geraldine and being like, honey, I can kick in half the rent. I did not have a great understanding of what it meant to raise venture capital and then to be on the hook for the level of success that was necessary to make our investors whole, right? To live up to the promise. Venture capital is an very odd asset class. Your goal is grow as fast as possible or die trying. You want to get the highest valuation possible. You want to become a unicorn company, right? Valued by its investors at $1 billion plus. And die trying is totally fine. What's not fine is growing slow and steady. I am learning as I go. I've never been a CEO before. I had never joined another startup, so this is completely my first experience everywhere. When our investors put money in, Moz was doing maybe $400,000 in software revenue for that year of 2007. In 2008, we a little more than doubled that, and in 2009 we doubled that again, and in 2010 we doubled that again, and that continued for 7 years uninterrupted. The challenge was that doubling was really at the very minimum bar of what we should be doing. Investors want to see the hockey stick, right? It was essentially exponential growth. So you're growing faster this year than you were growing last year. Moz was not that. It was doubling every year. So, it went from $400,000 in 2007 to $30 million in 2014. But that is not an exponential growth rate, right? It's not the growth curve that you see with something like a Google or a Tesla or somebody like that. So we were barely covering our butts in terms of where we needed to go. Very high pressure. It was not our investors, but the other investors that we tried to pitch to raise more money to grow faster, where we were getting a lot of negative feedback. We just weren't that impressive of a company, and that they were very skeptical about the field that we were in, right? There were no other big companies in our space. In 2012, I finally get a hit on our next round of funding. We raise $18 million. That is when it is from off to the races to off to the stars. We're essentially growing the team by leaps and bounds, hiring nearly 150 people and attempting to broaden the software suite to reach a much wider range of marketing professionals. The next year, 2012, I guess, is like $22 million. And I would say the wheels start coming off at this point. So we're supposed to launch our new product in 2013, and then that slips to 2014. Growth starts to slow down a little bit. Instead of growing at 100% year over year, we're slipping to 50%. My mental and emotional state is a wreck. And it's probably been trending that way for a little while. I have this simultaneous tension in my mind that somehow I am giving everything that I possibly can and yet we're still underperforming. How am I going to turn that $18 million into $180 million in 5 to 7 years if growth is slowing down? I had a conversation with our investors. I said, I am in trouble. That I wanted to step down from the CEO role, stay on the board, stay in the company, keep working as hard as I could. We had kind of a all leadership meeting, and I remember thinking, what have I done? I don't want to be part of this. I don't think anybody in this room wants to be part of this. That thought process got so overwhelming in my head that in the middle of the meeting, I stood up and ran to the bathroom and vomited in the toilet. My brain is, all these things are terrible. How will I ever solve these problems? I can't figure out a way to solve these problems. I'm doomed. It was a bad time. The company's growth rate continued to shrink until it was barely in single digits before the company was sold off for parts. When you're someone who builds something from scratch and then raising money and following this trajectory and then going to this place of, oh, we're not the 1 in 100 company that hockey sticks and makes it. We just took a long time to get to the bad outcome. I'm tripping, falling, but I don't really faceplant until after I stepped down as CEO and woke up to this company I'd created that I felt was not really mine anymore. And the beautiful thing that comes out of it is I think I learned to make reasonable promises. One of the things that I promised myself I would never do again is get into a situation where I was sacrificing my health, sacrificing my relationships to focus on work. That long experience at Moz felt like such a gut punch. That feeling is what made me conceptualize SparkToro to be something else. What we cared about was building a product that really helped people solve a problem that they couldn't solve before. We wanted a chill business. SparkToro is chill as heck, and it's also incredibly valuable, right? There's like 1,100 people who've subscribed to the product and use it every week to solve their market research problems. And how outstanding is that? In order to champion that new business model, we had to raise money in a completely different way. We couldn't raise venture. That asset class is not built for us. So we had to design a whole new way of funding companies, which is essentially that people own shares in the business, they can get paid dividends as the business is profitable. They basically get their money back first. So the first profits that the business earns goes back to them until they're basically paid back 100% of what they put in. And then everybody profit shares to the degree of their ownership, which does not sound all that creative. Like that should not require a whole lot of new thinking. A lot of people stepped up to the plate. We raised actually more than my first business, 1.3 million. SparkToro is actually growing at a slightly faster rate than Moz did. You don't have to be a billion-dollar company to help people and to provide a great service and to have a wonderful life and to build something special and to have days that are filled with meaningful work and great people.